Hey guys, Sue's here. Welcome back to another What's for Dinner on Keto, Easy Keto Meal Prep Recipe video. We do these every single Sunday, hoping to give you some keto meal ideas for the week. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button and joining the crew. And let's get into the video. I wanna catch the wave. First up, we made this awesome low-carb chicken Philly cheesesteak meatloaf. This was super easy and yummy. So to start with, in a large skillet over medium-high heat, I just melted 3 tablespoons of butter and added green bell pepper and a small to medium white onion, thinly sliced. To that, I added 2 heaping teaspoons of minced garlic, some sea salt, and some black pepper. And then I just sautéed those until the vegetables were all the way soft and put them in a separate serving dish. Now, Deborah and Marnie would both be proud. I have a big bowl. And to that, I'm adding 2 pounds of ground chicken and some Worcestershire sauce. I think that's 2 tablespoons. And then I'm just going to add half of my pepper and onion mixture straight to that. I normally use my hands for meatloaf, but I didn't want to with the ground chicken, so I am using my little meat breaker upper, and it actually worked so well on this that I might try it on like a beef meatloaf. Then I just took a regular size loaf pan, put it in there evenly, and baked it at 350 for 30 minutes. Now I'm topping it with provolone cheese and then the rest of the peppers and onions, and I'm going to pop it back in the oven. I think I popped it back in the oven for about 25 minutes, just because I did use more than the original recipe called for. That is from Peace, Love, and Low Carb. I'll link it down below. Here's what it looked like when it came out, and here it is all served up with some yummy steamed broccoli topped with a little rotisserie chicken seasoning. Next up, I have this awesome sea scallop seared in a garlic lemon butter sauce, served over spiralized zucchini, topped with a little Parmesan. So freaking good. Oh, I love scallops. So I just thawed about a pound of frozen scallops out, and then I just put them on paper towels to soak up all of the excess moisture. And I did take some olive oil, about 3 or 4 tablespoons, and put it in a large saute pan. And then I'm just adding my scallops to that over medium-high heat. Sea salt, pepper, Old Bay seasoning, and then I'm just gonna sear these on each side for 3 minutes in that butter. So good. After they sear for 3 minutes on each side, I just move them to a separate dish, just a little bowl so that we can get started in the sauce. So for that, I added a little bit more butter, a couple more tablespoons of butter to the pan, and a heaping teaspoon of minced garlic, 1/3 cup chicken broth, and I just kind of eyeballed it and squeezed some lemon juice in. And then I'm just going to cook this and let it reduce. Added some freeze-dried chives and some parsley. And again, I didn't measure anything for this. I just kind of threw it together. Meanwhile, I took a bag of Zoodles and I steamed them in the microwave. Then just add my scallops back to the juice and cook them till they're heated through. These are awesome as always. Scallops are always a big hit in my house. I usually make them with an Alfredo sauce, but felt like changing it up, and I'll definitely be trying to throw this together again. Next up, yummy, yummy, yummy ham and cheese roll-ups with a Dijon butter glaze. So to start with, you're going to make your dough by putting 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese. I just did it in the microwave this time. I usually do it over the stove. Put that in a bowl with 4 tablespoons butter and 2 tablespoons of cream cheese, and I heated it for 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then stirred it, and then heated it another 30 seconds to get it to the texture that I wanted. And then I added my dry ingredients, 1/4 cup almond flour, 3 tablespoons coconut flour, a teaspoon onion powder, a teaspoon garlic powder. And I like to get that kind of pounded in there. And before I add in 1 egg. And then I'll just use the spoon to also mix that up as well as I can. And then I'm going to turn out the whole thing of dough onto some parchment paper. And for this recipe, you do want to kind of roll it out, I don't know, approximately 9 by 13, so that we can roll it into a roll. But I just kind of smooth the dough out to the direction that I want it to eventually go, and then I get my rolling pin and make it happen. So with this, you don't want it too thick and you don't want it too thin because we're going to be rolling it up almost like you would a wrap or a jelly roll. And then I just peel that second piece of parchment away, and I'm gonna top this with cheese. Yes, if you're doing keto, you probably want to shred all of your own cheese, but I had some thick cut white cheddar in the refrigerator that you can see is at the remnants here. I needed to use up, and I am using that. The amount of carbs per serving are minimal, and I'm going for it, but you do what you gotta do. So after I put that on there, I'm just taking some ham lunch meat that was also in the fridge that needed to get used up, and I'm gonna layer that on top. And then I'm going to use the parchment paper to assist me in rolling this whole thing up. And after I roll it, to make it easier to slice later, I am sticking it in the freezer for about 1 hour. And I just stuck it in the freezer still wrapped in this parchment, just like this. And here it is when I took it out of the freezer. And as you can see, I've got some ham hanging out, and that's all good with me. This isn't for a party, this is for home. I just took a 9x10 baking dish, sprayed it down with some nonstick cooking spray, and then I'm just gonna use my knife to slice these into about 1 inch thickness. And then I'm just gonna pile them in the baking dish and just keep doing that over and over again. I do have my oven preheated to 375, and after I get those all in there, I am just gonna pop them in the oven for about 25 minutes. Meanwhile, I'm gonna make the sauce. So to do that, to a little saucepan, I added 2 tablespoons of butter, a tablespoon Dijon mustard, a teaspoon Worcestershire sauce, a teaspoon garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon dried Italian seasoning. And I'm just whisking it over low heat until it's all melted. And here are my pinrolls out of the oven. Pinrolls, I keep calling them. I think like pinwheels. Anyway, I'm just using a silicone brush to put some of that Dijon sauce over each one. I just kept going until I'd used all of the sauce up, but it's really a preference on, the level of condiments you like. After I get it on all of them, I did pop this back in the oven for another 5 minutes. And here is the finished product. Super duper good. Just served them with some steamed green beans. I almost even liked these better the next day leftover. And I'm anxious to try this recipe with like turkey or roast beef. Next up, oh my goodness, this is some pesto lasagna, but with zucchini for the noodle. So to start with, I'm using this awesome mortar and pestle that I recently got off of Amazon. Super, super awesome. I will link this down below in case you want to check it out. Even came with an extra pestle. And I took 1/4 cup pine nuts and put those in there. And that is about the only thing I measured for this. So I'm just throwing together, I want to say quick pesto sauce, but is pesto sauce ever really quick? So once I have those all ground up into a paste-like texture, I just used a regular teaspoon and kind of filled it up and, put some minced garlic in there. Now I'm just gonna pound that end there. And once I have that all like a paste too, I'm adding some fresh basil leaves. And I'm just adding them in small increments and then a little sea salt on top of them. And that really helps break down the basil leaves quicker so you're not grinding away all day trying to make your sauce. And I just kept adding them like that in small batches. I probably added 1.5 cups to 2 cups of basil total. And then after I had that all incorporated really well, I added, I think like 2/3 cup of fancy shredded Parmesan, and a third of a cup olive oil. And then I just used my teaspoon to mix that all together. And just look how beautiful this is. I can't wait to make guacamole in this mortar. It's so fancy. After I had that done, I'm going to slice up my zucchini. So I took 3 medium zucchini. This is my handy dandy awesome new mandolin slicer that I didn't have the last time we made a recipe that we needed to slice stuff lengthwise. You see that I also have a glove on. My sweet daddy saw that I did not have a mandolin. He heard me say it and he ordered me one and sent it. And he also looked and found some knife cut resistant gloves, and I promised him that I would wear them when using it. So here you go, Daddy. So I'm just slicing all of those. I don't know, maybe 1/4 of an inch. This is kind of, there you go. That's how you want them to look. And I just did all 3 of those, and then I'm going to actually put them in this baking dish and stick them in the oven for 20 minutes at 350 to just make them a little bit more pliable and get some of the excess moisture out of them before I make them into lasagna. So while those are in the oven, I went ahead and took some olive oil and some minced garlic and added it to a pan, and I'm taking about 4 ounces of spinach. I'm just using baby spinach, so you see I'm just going to shred it, kind of twist it in my hands to break it up, and I'm going to saute this until it is all wilted and soft, but still bright green. And this is based on a recipe from the wonderful Carolyn Ketchums, so I am following this part of the recipe to a T. I made my own pesto sauce, but I am following her recipe for her pesto zucchini lasagna rolls on her website. So in a separate bowl, a big bowl again, I added a cup of ricotta, a 1/2 cup of just your regular store-bought grated Parmesan, and I'm adding 1 egg. And then I'm going to add my seasoning mix of 3/4 a teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and mix that together really well. And then I'm going to add my spinach and garlic mixture to that. And as I mix this up, I'm going to just kind of keep chopping to make sure, I want to make sure there's spinach all the way kind of evenly throughout as possible. Then I got my zucchini out of the oven and just kind of put it in a dish over here. I sprayed the same 9x13 pan that I was using to bake it with some nonstick oil, and then I'm taking about a tablespoon of the ricotta filling and putting it on 1/2 of the zucchini strip, and then rolling it up like so and adding it to the dish. And I'm going to repeat this process over and over again until I have them all filled and rolled. And then the little bit of ricotta spinach mixture that was left in the bowl, I am just going to take those scoops and kind of just stick them in here because I don't want it to go to waste, and I love ricotta cheese. Then I'm going to take the awesome pesto sauce that we made, and I'm just going to top each of the lasagna rolls with it. And then I'm going to top the whole thing with a very generous amount of shredded mozzarella cheese. And I do have my oven preheated to 350 still. And I'm just going to put the whole thing in the oven for 30 minutes. And this is what it looks like when it comes out. And I just served this as is. You could make like a keto garlic bread or something to go along with it, but here you go. And those are our recipes for the week, guys. I hope these keto meal ideas will help you get prepped, get all your meal prep on for the week. Please come back next Sunday. We will have another What's for Dinner on Keto video, what to eat, keto diet, things to just help you master keto. And as always, please do us a favor and like, comment, and subscribe. The more you like the video, the more it helps us get it out there and gets it seen by other people that are trying to do a keto diet and live a keto lifestyle. Till next time, bye guys. Help me find